Hi, everybody. I'm Gloria Moraga. This is a Political Woman podcast. It is Thursday, April 9th, 2025. I am the Political Woman. Thank you for being here. I want to talk a little bit about Trump and his tariff schemes, but I want to first share a little something with you. I was looking at Trump's speech the other night to the Republican audience, and it just jumped out at me that he was telling lie after lie after lie about everything, about his first term and tariffs, about how much money tariffs are already bringing in, $2 billion a day, about the U.S. deficit with China, about how there are no cars in Europe, how we already have companies that are committed to breaking ground and building factories here in the United States, and on and on and on. And I was listening to it, and I was recording it, and so I pulled some of the sound bites, and I wanted to do a fact check. I'll say that I was reading, because I'm a voracious reader, and I read a great article in the BBC, so I'm going to quote the BBC that also did a fact check, but I also double-checked their fact check and kind of confirmed a lot of the things that they said in their article. So let's start with the Trump's first term and tariffs. Here's what he has to say.
China will now pay a big number to our Treasury. This is all taxes. And don't let them keep telling you that this is a tax on our people. I hate that. You know, they say it's a tax. No, often much of it is paid. And hey, look what happened during my first term. We had no inflation, and yet I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs and taxes from China. No other president got 10 cents in tariffs or taxes from China. I got hundreds of billions of dollars. Hundreds of billions of dollars. And I still got along with them because they understood what they were doing was wrong. They understood it. It's when you explain it, they sit up, they say, I've had numerous leaders tell me, "You're right, sir. I was waiting for you to bring this up."
Well, obviously, we have a lot to fact check here because it's been, 4 years since his first term. So we have information. And so I'll take it from U.S. inflation adjusted income would have been $1.4 billion higher per month by the end of 2018 without tariffs. So we would have all made $1.4 billion more if Trump hadn't imposed those tariffs. I'll jump to the two last ones because there's a lot of fact checking on how much those early tariffs hurt us. Trump-era tariffs increased consumer costs by roughly $51 billion annually, according to a 2022 analysis by the American Action Forum, a center-right think tank. So this is not some liberal think tank, okay? Our costs went up because of his tariffs, $51 billion a year. And here's the real kicker. Trump's first-term tariffs were equal to about $625 per household. So that's how much more we had to spend because of his tariffs a year. And that is according to the Tax Foundation, another center-right group. So there you go. Another lie that Trump keeps repeating is that tariffs are going to bring in, and they're already bringing in, $2 billion a day. And I know where this one comes from, but here's what Trump has to say.
And just remember the numbers when you get up to $2 billion a day. $2 billion a day. They're saying, "Sir, can't be that, can it?" I said, "Yeah, it can. It's the biggest transaction ever made. This is bigger than Any deal, you guys, some of you work for companies. Your companies are peanuts. I don't care how big they are. Compared, this is the largest transaction in the history of our country. And don't let some of these politicians go around saying, because I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir. And then I'll see some rebel Republican, some guy that wants to grandstand, say, I think that Congress should take over negotiations. Let me tell you, you don't negotiate like I negotiate. Congress takes over negotiating. Sell America fast because you're going to go busted.
All right, so Trump has been quoted as saying, we're making a fortune with tariffs, $2 billion a day. The BBC said it could not find any figures on where he's getting this figure from. The U.S. Treasury publishes a daily statement on how much money goes to the federal government from duties, from custom duties. And I have data from April 7th, which includes the impact of some of Trump's, earlier tariffs that he enacted. And the figure on that date is $215 million. So, yeah, that's $215 million, but it's not $2 billion a day. And the BBC was perplexed and didn't know where Trump is getting this figure. And he's getting it from Peter Navarro. Peter Navarro, who, went to jail, who is now Trump's tariff dude. And he is claiming that tariffs will raise $750 billion a year for the United States. That might be where Trump's getting this figure. I mean, it would be $2 billion a day times 365. So, 365. It kind of comes out to 700. But, Peter Navarro, cuckoo. Another big one for me is Trump claiming that there are no American-made cars in Europe. Yes, there are. But here's what Trump has to say about it.
For 7 decades, American ships have patrolled the seas. American troops have kept the pace and peace. And American wealth has enriched the globe. But despite all we have given to them, you will not find an American car in Berlin, in Tokyo, in Seoul, in Shanghai, not a car. I used to say to Angela Merkel, Angela, how many Chevrolets do we have in Berlin? Why, none, Donald, none. That's right, Angela, you got it. How many Chevrolets do you think we have in Munich, Angela? None, Donald. I said, you sent us 7 million cars last year. So we're going to start buying American-made cars or cars that are manufactured in America.
All right, so the BBC addressed this, and it says, does the EU import no U.S. cars? Because Trump has said, they just want to screw us, and they don't have any of our cars. We take their millions of their cars. They take no cars. In 2024, the EU imported 164,857 U.S.-made cars. That was a value of $7 billion. That's according to the European Automotive Manufacturing Association.
And they're coming in at levels that we've never seen before. And it is true that Mexico, they've stopped building plants, and those plants are now going to be built in the United States of America.
Trump's saying that auto producers are already clearing the land and getting ready to build manufacturing plants here in the United States. Here's what he had to say.
We have billions and billions being invested by Merck, Clarios, Stellantis, General Motors, Honda, Nissan, Hyundai. All are putting in billions and billions and billions of dollars. They're buying sites all over their building because they don't want to have to pay 25 and 50% tariffs. They're all doing it. And I think they also have confidence in the country. They have a president that they have confidence in. I know many of them.
All right. So here is what auto manufacturers have said. Quote, a lot of costs and a lot of chaos. And this is a quote. While automakers are seeing a lot of costs and a lot of chaos from Trump's tariff threats, Ford CEO Jim Farley said at an investor conference last month, "We're still not going to build new plants, at least not immediately." Part of that is because of Trump's on-again, off-again levies that don't provide the certainty that automakers need to invest billions of dollars in new plants. And that's what everyone is saying right now. Everyone that produces anything is saying, we don't know what to do. We don't know what inventory to buy. We don't know if we're going to be able to continue our business. So back to the quote. This is from another automaker. Quote, "If they become permanent," meaning the tariffs, "then there's a whole bunch of different things that you have to think about in terms of where do you allocate plants? Do you even move plants, etc.?" This is from General Motors CFO Paul Jacobson, and he told investors that last month. He said the company has too many questions about the future of trade policy to make these kinds of decisions at this time. So there you go. Remember Trump's no tax on tips? Here's Trump talking about no tax on tips in front of all the Republicans.
Not part of what I was going to say, but one of the best things that I think I've come up with is interest deductions. If you buy a car that's made in America, you get an interest deduction on the money you borrow. And I love it. I hope you can do it, Mike. I hope you can do it, because I haven't bugged you about that. I've been talking about no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. And I haven't really been as strong on this one, but it's only because it gets a little bit long, you know. But if you think of it, you buy a car, you borrow money, and you get a deduction on that money if the car is made in America. I'm thinking that will not cost you 10 cents. You'll make money with that one. I think you'll make money actually in a certain way with the other three also. I think they're very important, and they were part of our campaign. I was going to say before that in Nevada, that when I came up with the no tax on tips, I think that's why we won by a massive amount. And interestingly, they came up about a month and a half later. She was making one of her few speeches. She didn't speak too much for a reason, good reason. She was making a speech, and in the middle she said, "Oh, and by the way, we will have," and everyone's falling asleep, "we will have no tax on tips." The place booed the hell out of it. They said, "You're a little late on that one," because I was worried they'd copy me. You know, it was so good. You know how it actually happened? Maybe I should tell the story quickly. I was in my building in Las Vegas. We have a great restaurant there. And this young, beautiful waitress, and you're not allowed to say beautiful because that's the end of your political career. If you call a young woman beautiful, that's the end of your career. But what the hell? She was beautiful. So she came up to me. And she said, "Hello, sir. It's so nice to have you at the hotel." I said, "Thank you." I had a group of people, some political people, actually. It was very interesting. And I said, "How's everything going?" She said, "Oh, it's so tough. They're after my tips." Who's after? The government. They're after my tips, constantly after my tips. They're after all of us for the tips. She said, "Sir, we should have no tax on tips." I said, "Say it again." "What?" "We should have no tax." She said it. This was my consultant, waitress from my hotel. Most people go out and spend millions of dollars to come up with an idea. I said, she just said no tax on tips. That's the coolest thing I've ever heard. So I went outside. There were a lot of, we finished our wonderful meal, steak, went outside, and there were a lot of cameras, as there always are, unfortunately. I say, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a new policy all over the country, but specifically in Nevada. There will be no tax on tips," right? And the cameras went wild. Click, 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 click. And we won the state by a lot, so I don't know. So I have to find that waitress and thank her. She was my consultant, except I didn't pay her $2 million like the other consultants that we all get screwed by.
All right. I just want to say there is not any kind of legislation to remove the tax on tips that Trump promised he would do. It's not in this budget. And in fact, when he was talking about giving tax breaks to people who buy cars here. And, it was just like another one of his schemes that he wants to talk to Mike Johnson about. But there's no tax on tips in this budget plan. So he says this is why we won in Nevada, because that waitress told me they're taking away my tips. And so he made all these promises. I'm going to get rid of, tips being taxed. And he's not doing it. But he talked about it over and over and over again. And he lied. He lied. He lied to that waitress, and he lied to everybody in this country who depends on their tips to live, to feed their kids, to get by. And that's what they're doing right now. So, it's appalling to me. I'm Gloria Moraga, Political Woman. Please subscribe. We're not anywhere near out of the woods on this. We still are going to feel the heavy burden of tariffs that we are going to pay for.